Welcome back all. Apologies for missing last week. It just ended up getting a little bit crazy with the Irish road trip, getting back in time and then catching up with everything. So apologies, but everything is back to normal. Thank you as always everyone for getting in touch, sharing your thoughts and opinions. The best place to do so, comments section below. And if you have a longer story made with some pictures, you can email hi@tuesday@dobbs.com. This week, I really want to focus on good, honest, simple fun. Recommendations from you about the bikes that you love. What are you riding at the moment? Are there bikes that you've got that have just completely transformed your love of motorcycling? I'm not going for anything too old here. They're all going to be within the realms of electronic fuel injection, everything like that. But there's some really, really good picks. For every recommendation you give me, I'm going to find a used example of that bike so you can see exactly how much that bike costs. Let's start. From Stuart, Freddie, I recently went from my first bike, which was 100 horsepower Honda Hornet, to a bike with only 47 horsepower, the Kawasaki W800, and it was the best move I've ever made. So much more fun. Nice to wind up a bike a bit and not be immediately breaking the speed limit. I couldn't be happier. Stuart, this is echoing exactly my journey through motorcycling. I used to have a 130 horsepower Triumph Speed Triple, and I thought this must be the most fun bike ever because it's got huge horsepower, it's a super naked, it's everything fun that biking should be. And then, after 4 years of owning it, I started to realize maybe I want to try something different. Maybe I like the look of that Triumph Bonneville with exactly half the horsepower. But I'm not joking. It took me 2 years of lusting after Bonnevilles to mentally in my head accept the fact that I was actually going to go from a high horsepower bike to a lower horsepower bike. In my head, it was almost me giving up on biking. I thought, I can't do this. I won't be a proper biker if I'm going from a bike with 130 horsepower to 65 horsepower. I thought I won't be able to go out for rides with the guys if I rock up on a bike with half the horsepower. I used to think it had to be a race to the top. The more horsepower, the better. The more, the better. And after 2 years of considering a Bonneville and thinking, God, am I really going to do it? Am I really going to regress with my bikes? I did it. I bought the Bonneville. And I remember so vividly that ride back on the Bonneville. And it was a complete revelation. Halving the amount of horsepower, but getting something that tugs at my heartstrings. Everyone's got a different bike that suits them. But when I got on that bike, I immediately knew, I just smiled the whole way home. I knew this is the bike for me. This is exactly my style of bike. And I've never looked back. So Stuart, I'm in the exact same boat as you with this. Kawasaki W800, enough of my waffling. What can you get? 11-year-old bike, £3,950, excellent condition, low mileage, off Facebook Marketplace, and of course, it looks beautiful. What if your budget's a bit smaller? Go for the older Kawasaki Z650. This is the predecessor to the W800, and it costs £2,900. This is a high mileage one with 58,000 miles. But look at this. The owner has specifically kept a record of every single oil change he's done all the way through to 55,000 miles. And it was owned by an 80-year-old for much of its life. And it's still got all of those beautiful looks. Remove the top box, and that is a lovely looking bike for under £3,000. Stuart, perfect way to start. Slight change in angle here. Rally Raid Modified. Who's heard of that? I certainly hadn't. The reason I'm bringing this up, 3 people individually got in touch and mentioned specifically Rally Raid Modified. This is in essence to turn a simple good value bike into your very own ultimate custom adventure bike. Listen to this from Thomas, picture included. Freddie, I agree with your myriad viewers about the Honda CB500X as a choice of bike of the week. This bike gets even more fun when paired with rally raid wheels and suspension. I came to this bike from the Triumph 1200 Explorer. That's a fascinating change. It transforms the bike into a real adventure bike that's comfortable on long trips, capable on trail, and a sensible commuter. Thomas. So I've had to do some research on this to understand what this is. Rally Raid Modified, or Rally Raid, is, to the best of my knowledge, a British company that focus on good value adventure bikes such as the BMW 310 GS, Triumph 400X, Yamaha Tenere 700, and a few more, including, of course, the Honda CB500X. So they really focus on this little niche of great, affordable, smallish capacity adventure bikes. Have a listen to the wording on this. This is straight from their website, About Us Rally Raid. Based in the United Kingdom, Rally Raid products were founded in 2008 by John Mitchinson, along with help from friends and family. And it combines years of both engineering and riding experience, and their products have grown from creating parts for friends to serving world-class riders with a range of unique designs from suspension to hard parts. So let's say I've just bought this bike, a 2017 Honda CB500X for £2,000 off Facebook Marketplace. But I want to have a bit of fun. I want to turn this bike into a genuine off-road machine. So if I go to the Rally Raid website, you can see here they've got everything from, and this is all for the CB500X, from spoked wheels for £1,500 to a complete suspension setup for £1,500 as well. And look, you could say that's a lot of money, and of course it is on a cheap bike, but sometimes you can't justify fun. Let's say if I want this suspension setup here, this is £1,500, but this is sold out at the moment. Here's a tip for you. Go onto eBay or Facebook Marketplace, and this works, I checked this. Type in the bike model that you want, for example, Yamaha Tenere, or in this case, Honda CB500X Rally Raid wheels. Now, I'm recording this on Monday. The podcast comes out on Tuesday. There will only be a couple of hours left of this auction if you watch it immediately. I typed in Rally Raid wheels Honda CB500X. Look what popped up. 4 bids, 1 day left, £102. But what an opportunity. These Rally Raid options do pop up on the classified, so check them out because it's your opportunity to have a real good amount of fun turning a £2,000 adventure bike into a real hardcore, go anywhere, travel the world adventure bike. I also had a bit of fun. I typed in Rally Raid into Facebook Marketplace, nothing else, just to see what popped up. And up popped a 2021 Yamaha Tenere 700 with some of the Rally Raid gear. This just gives you a lovely idea about the kind of things that you can do to your really well-priced bikes. Oh, that looks a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to someone just backing this point up. Everyday rider. Hi Freddie, my wife and I Rally Raid modified 2 Honda CB500Xs and travelled all over Europe. Apart from having the most boring engine ever conceived, they were magnificent bikes. That's 24,000 miles on each machine in 12 months, not one issue at all. We sold mine for the same money I bought it for, minus the modifications, and my wife still has hers 5 years later. No faults, enough said. Many people recommend this Rally Raid stuff, so check it out if you fancy a fun project. And there are bargains out there for the parts. The Himalayan. This is from Walter. Freddie, I just rode the first 700 kilometers on my new Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. It totally supports the claim that small CC bikes are so much fun to ride, just like the mentioned Honda CB500X, and prevent major depreciation. My ride, my Royal Enfield, averages 98 UK MPG. That is double what my Bonneville gets. Double, that's phenomenal. And it's an absolute joy to ride. Okay, Royal Enfield Himalayan, brand new. I mean, they're so new, just go new. 5,750 pounds, 40 horsepower, and I love this about them. Himalayan, from Royal Enfield's website. If this isn't enough sales pitch to make you go out and buy one, I don't know what is. Himalayan. There is no predictable journey in the Himalayas. There was no one machine designed for this journey. Until now. The all-new Himalayan, built by the Himalayas. Oh God, that does make me want one. Walter, congrats on your new bike. On now to Regaz. Oh, this is interesting. Regaz, Freddie, have you seen the latest notice from Royal Enfield about global warranty? This popped up for me. I get a lot of the press stuff from Royal Enfield. They send it to me, and I meant to mention it 2 weeks ago, but I just got so full of really good stories from all of you that I couldn't quite squeeze it in, but I'll mention it now that someone has. Global warranty, Royal Enfield. Have a listen to this. Borderless warranty policy. All motorcycles, this is from Royal Enfield's website, irrespective of their country of registration, can avail limited warranty services from a Royal Enfield authorised dealer workshop in another country. The rider, all they need to do is carry maintenance and service records, proof of ownership, and motorcycle registration, and the periodic maintenance services have been availed in the respective period/kilometre ranges as per the schedule. So all you need to do when you go on a big road trip with your Royal Enfield to Europe, to America, to Asia, wherever, just take your logbook, the proof that you own the vehicle, and the proof that you stuck to the service history, and if anything happens, you just take it to a Royal Enfield dealership around the world. I'm sure other bike manufacturers may do this, I'm just not familiar with it. It's just another really good selling point for those Royal Enfields. On to, this could be the end for the Honda CB500X. The new Honda NX 500 is now here, pictured. This is from Uzut Doors. Freddie, you may know that the Honda CB500X has now been replaced with the NX 500. I think I'll be selling my $40,000 Harley Davidson to downsize to a new $11,500 US Honda. Check them out. This does look like just the little brother of the Honda Transalp, and Kaiklung continues. Freddie, I recently test rode an NX 500, which is the successor to the CB500X, and I loved it. Felt comfortable, exciting, and confidence-inspiring, especially for a first-time rider looking to get his first bike. So much so that I already put down a deposit for it, and I should pick it up, hopefully next month. Cheers from Portugal. Kaikyong. Let's check these out then. NX 500, that is 196 kilos wet weight, so a good amount of weight there, nothing too crazy. It's 6,800 pounds, it's got 47 horsepower, so it's A2 license compliant, and it's a 471cc bike. But as is the case with the Transalp here, 6,800 pounds for the standard bike. The accessories transform these. So if you can get stuff like the crash bars and the fog lights on the front, that will turn it into a proper little adventure style bike. I really like these. Right now we are in the period of these kind of adventure bikes just being in vogue at the moment. These are the bikes at the moment that everyone is talking about. This, the Himalayan 450, and I see the appeal. They're bikes that you feel like you could travel the world on. They're not going to break the bank in terms of buying it, in terms of reliability they're good, and it's just good, simple fun. 6,800 pounds. On now to an even smaller capacity bike. KTM 390 Adventure. This is from Ben. Freddie, a great bike was the Honda CB500X, but for me, here in the UK, the KTM 390 Adventure beats it. Same sort of money, Same sort of power, but better electrics and cheaper to maintain and run. Initially, Ben, I thought cheaper to maintain and run than a Honda. Can that be true for a KTM? But you're right here, as I finish the sentence, cheaper to maintain and run under the 400cc tax bracket that we have here in the UK. Just my opinion, of course. This is, and I didn't know this, I'll be completely honest, the tax brackets in the UK, anything under 150cc, you pay £25 tax a year to legally have your bike and ride it on the road. Then the next bracket is 150 to 400cc, and that's £55 a year. So that is an immediate £30 saving over the 400cc plus bikes. The KTM. So, released in 2020, 158 kilos, 44 horsepower, and 373 cc's. That really is, or they are the ingredients of a very, very fun bike. Incredibly light, and 44 horsepower, especially with that off-roading ability, that would genuinely be a huge amount of fun. Brand new, these are £6,600, but what can I find from one of the new breed 2020 onwards on Facebook Marketplace? 2021 model, listed 3 weeks ago. It's tempting, £3,250. Have a listen. KTM 390, full service history, just had its first MOT, no advisories, up or upward quick shift, crash bars, 2 keys, 4,000 miles on the clock. A very nice tip there. It's not a bike that often pops up in conversation, so KTM 390 Adventure. Good looking little package. On to Duncan. Other end of the spectrum here. Still a smallish engine size of 600cc, but you are looking at £20,000 if you want this brand new. Freddie, have you seen the CCM RAF 100 motorcycle? Pictured. I mean, look at this. I found it by accident while scrolling on the internet, and I think it is beautiful. So, £20,000. Only 100 of these will be made in this limited edition. This bike, I love the backstory. It was inspired by Lawrence of Arabia's Brough Superior. So that was the bike that they would have put down initially and come up with the inspiration for this limited edition. 600cc engine, 55 horsepower. But this is the real thing for me that sets it apart from so many other bikes. Dry weight, bear in mind, 135 kilos from a 600cc bike. That has to be in line for the crown of the best package for fun. 55 horsepower and 135 kilos. It's not cheap at £20,000, but I have found one for you if you're looking at similar. £7,000 for a 5-year-old one. That will be similarly fun with the 600cc engine and 55 horsepower. On now to a Rebel from Lynn. Freddie, I agree that smaller capacity bikes are very versatile and capable. I've had my Honda Rebel since 2018. It has white wall tyres too, and I've ridden all over the UK on it. Scotland, Cornwall, Wales, etc. It will crush 300 plus miles a day, generally limited to how long I can tolerate numb bum. As you can see, this is fully loaded on a trip. I also have a Yamaha MT-07, but this is more for fun riding through the Peak District roads and twisties, etc. My go-to bike for touring, though, that's the Rebel. Easy, laid back, flat feet, nippy in traffic. A good little bike. Lynn, it's great to see these, especially in a nice touring setup there, just to show that you can use a bike that a lot of people would say you can't do big distances on, but strap a couple of panniers either side, get the top box on. Why can't you go anywhere on that? And again, with those white wall tyres, excellent. Looks incredible. Honda Rebel 500, what can you get? Facebook Marketplace, this is seriously tempting. £2,700 for one of these. Listed 2 weeks ago, 12 months MOT, Starts, runs, stops perfectly. Legendary Honda reliability, perfect commuter. 2 keys, any questions just ask. 29,000 miles on the clock, and it still looks brilliant. I started riding 15 years ago, and I wish there was this selection of cool bikes within my price range 15 years ago. Bikes like this, they just didn't exist. I would have been freaking out if I'd have seen this for £2,700 15 years ago. On to some not so positive news here. If you're a Triumph owner, have a listen to this, because I'm going to read out 3 people's experience with Triumph clocks, instrument binnacles, the issues they've had, and a potential solution. I found this really interesting. This is following on from a Bonneville rider 2 weeks ago saying that his indicators had stopped working on his Bonneville, but the fault was with the instrument cluster. So he took it to Triumph and they said the entire instrument cluster needs replacing, even though it's just his indicators that had stopped working. The price for that? £1,100 to replace the instrument cluster. It turns out this isn't an isolated account, unfortunately. I've had a good handful of people getting in touch. I'm starting with Stuart. Freddie, I had my indicators fail on my 2017 Triumph Bonneville T120. The clocks were at fault and had to be replaced. I was very lucky, as I'd not long had the bike very long, and it had 6 months warranty. So all expenses were covered, which was just as well as the total repair cost was £979. I just hope the clocks will last. On to John. The Bonneville clock fault is not uncommon. Mine is currently sitting in my garage waiting to have new clocks fitted next week. Final one, Sagalout. My Triumph Street Triple, so not a Bonneville, Street Triple RS TFT clocks also failed. Out of warranty, and the dealer wanted £1,300 to replace. Luckily, I found a company that repaired them. This is really important. Repaired them for £300 called Autotronics. This is a common problem on the 2017 to 2019 models of Triumphs. I love the bike, but I won't buy another Triumph. Everyone I've spoken to has had some major issue at some point with their Triumphs. This is important. Save a picture of this, or do a photo or screen grab of this. Autotronics website. If you ever have problems with any motorcycle instrument binnacle, this very well could be and should be your first point of call to save huge amounts of money, because instead of replacing an instrument binnacle for £1,100, a £300 repair may actually do the trick instead. And I tell you something, I'm having a bit of deja vu here. I've used this company, Autotronics. I can vouch for them. I had to get my old Jaguar's key fob either repaired or replaced, and the cost to replace it, I was quoted at £300. So I got in touch with Autotronics. They said, yes, of course, we can fix your key fob. I sent it off in the post, and a week later it had been repaired for £50. This is an excellent company, excellent. So if you ever have problems, just get in touch with them. Instead of having to replace the whole thing, just get it repaired. And of course, if you go to a mechanic, or if you go to Triumph main dealer, of course they're not going to say that they can repair it or that it can be repaired, because it's just not worth their time. They're not specialists in this area. So that's why you have to do this work, going off your own back to find these companies and actually do the work of taking the binnacle off yourself and then sending it off to these companies, because it does work. It's just if you take it to a mechanic, chances are they won't recommend it, because it's just not worth their time to be looking into that, liaising with different companies to get it repaired. That is an excellent, excellent tip. Bike of the week. This probably makes no sense after the kind of podcast episode we've had this week, so bear with me. This is from Rick in the Netherlands. Freddie, I cannot understand a Honda CB500X. It is boring any way I look at it. If having no costs is the best thing you can tell me about your bike, you have a boring bike. But that's only my opinion and I respect every rider. I promise I'm not hating. Therefore, I want to submit my Ducati Hypermotard 950. I don't need rock-hard travel suspension. I've ridden it through the Eifel, Mosel and Black Forest in Germany. Also, I ride to work on it most days. The handling, power and looks are perfect, and thanks to a taller comfort seat, the seating position is great. I'm pretty tall, so the bike fits me perfectly. In 20,000 kilometers, I only have put new tyres on it and given it scheduled service, that's oil, etc. The running costs on a Ducati with the 939 engine are in my case very minimal, and that is maybe, just maybe, only my sixth favourite thing about the bike, the cost of ownership. Greetings from Rotterdam, the Netherlands, Rick. The reason I picked this bike, after going through these smaller capacity and mid-engined bikes, is, well, one, because I'm a child and I quite like the look of it, but also, these are still stripped back bikes. I know it's 1000cc, but it's not something that's got the heated seats and tech absolutely everywhere. It's still just the rider, an engine, a frame, and stripped back of anything else. So you'll have to bear with me with this. I just quite liked it. It's got 112 horsepower. It's 200 kilos. It is a hooligan machine and it costs £12,795 new. And the reason I wanted to say this is because it's quite close to the cost of a brand new Honda NX500, within about £1,000. So we're kind of in the realms of affordability. I found one 5-year-old, £7,750. Don't you think that is a really, really good looking bike? I think that would be one of my picks from the Ducati range. I've never ridden it, but I just love the look of it, the aggression. 10,000 miles on the clock, up and down quick shifter, aftermarket seats, tail tidy, full service history, aftermarket reservoirs, immaculate condition, very well looked after, Termignoni exhausts, and an MOT for near enough a year with just 2 owners on the clock. And we'll wrap it up there. I didn't think I'd be wrapping it up with an Italian stallion, but there you go, that's the way it works. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It's great to be back after a 2-week break. Have a brilliant week all, and I'll see you in the next one.